Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, building experiences that connect, remove friction, and deliver insights. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and I am live at Sage Transform 2022, and with me today is my longtime friend, Dom Pernai of ETHOSYS and the director of Sage Intacct Real Estate. Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Well, thanks, Ed. It's always good to hang out and say hello.
It is. It's good to be seen and not just viewed.
I could not agree more.
So we're glad to be out here. So, Dom, my first question to everyone is, why do you do what you do?
Well, Ed, the reason I do what I do is I came out of school. I tried to take what I thought would be a practical career and took accounting classes and became a degreed accountant, sat for the CPA exam, all of those types of things. But I always had this just burning desire around real estate. I think that when you look at new buildings and you see the way they impact communities, just means so much. And it could be anything from a commercial common area building, like an office building or a retail shopping center. It's a place where people congregate and hang out and really live. Or to apartment buildings and so on. I've always just really been enamored with the way they impact a city, a town, and a community. I'm from the city of Chicago. My dad was a fireman. We live in the city. I'm not one of those people who's from a suburb that says I'm from the city. And, it was always really interesting to me to watch as a kid. I watched our local park get built because they grandfathered some land in and so on. And then I watched how everybody went there. How everybody spent time there. As kids, we went to the local swimming pool and things like that. I just always have been enamored with those types of things. And so I come out of school with this very practical degree, and I happen to get a job at a real estate company, and it was a larger real estate company, and I was able to really spend a lot of time and learn a lot about what goes into creating an investment around that asset and how people invest in it, and what it takes to take it from dirt to a finished structure. And it just blew me away.
And Dom, tell me a little bit more about this Sage Intacct Real Estate.
Well, Sage Intacct Real Estate is a product that I've been lucky enough to be involved in for about the last 2.5 years and bring to market. And it's really for all of those companies out there that have properties that they hold and that they lease space for. I looked at the Intacct product line for many years, and it has such an incredible financial structure and general ledger structure to it that it fit perfectly in that real estate mold, that value of that asset and tracking your investors and their returns and all of that. But it didn't have the practical module it needed to bill a tenant and collect the rent and track it all, and all the nuances that can go along with that. So I went to Sage and was able to work out a financial arrangement with them where we were able to create that product and bring it to the market.
Outstanding. And what is it about real estate from a software standpoint that makes it a little bit tricky?
So what makes it a little bit tricky is the different things that you might bill for. So like as an example, as we sit here in this beautiful resort and there's restaurants all around, believe it or not, those restaurants, they probably pay a portion of rent based upon how much their sales are. So you need to get them to track in detail and report to you as the landlord what their sales are. And then if they meet a certain dollar amount, they're going to pay a small percentage of those sales as additional rent. Or in an office building scenario, the owner spends all the money to pay for all the expenses, the property taxes, the insurance, and so on. But then they bill that back to those tenants, usually on a pro rata share, how much space they occupy. And so those types of things can get a little bit tricky. There's even some nuances to that from there, but that's part of it.
And I would imagine that that's what you've been brought on to make sure that it has all of that functionality.
Yes, I'm somebody who has spent more years than I'd care to admit on tape, tracking things like that. So I'm very familiar with all of these details and all of these processes. And so, yes, from Sage's perspective, they knew that if they entrusted it to me, that I'd make sure that it would follow all those rules.
Well, the fact that you said tape is an indicator of what that really is. But I'll let you go on that one, Dom. Here's what I want to know. Really, what can you give me an example of a customer that you guys have helped out recently?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So there's a company that's a customer of Sockeye, which is an outstanding reseller out of Alaska that's in Hawaii. And they have some of the highest end shopping in Oahu that is part of their portfolio. And so we've worked with them to track all of their leases in detail so that they can make sure that they are able to bill and collect all the revenue that they deserve as the landlord for that property.
All right. And Dom, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours and why are they a hero?
That's a really interesting question, and I cannot help but say my father, and it's very simply because he came from the most humblest of beginnings and, barely finished grade school, let alone high school, and on his own, because he was he had lost his dad when he was very young, on his own worked to single-handedly reunite his family, his sisters and his mother and all of that. So it'd be tough for me not to say my dad.
And lastly, Dom, how can somebody contact you?
Easiest way to get a hold of me is my email at Sage, which is Dom, D-O-M, as in Mary, .Pernai, P-E-R-N-A-I, at sage.com.
All right. Dom Pernai, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
It's always great to chat with you. Thanks.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.